Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the major tornado outbreak likely this afternoon and evening across much of the US. So either if you're from the US and you're interested, please watch this, and if you're from the UK and you're interested, please watch this. So we'll start off with the Storm Prediction Center, the official forecast from National Weather Service. You can see we've got two high-risk areas out today across parts of Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and I've got a second high risk across Arkansas, Tennessee, and Mississippi. This is the first high risk for tornadoes since March 25th, 2021, and it's the first double high risk, so two separate high risk areas, since I think April 14th, 2012. So a massive event is on tap for today. Really serious stuff. If I show you the tornado probability, you can see massive 10% risk. This is a 10% that chance that you'll see a tornado within 25 miles of a point, a big 15% as well, and two very rare 30% areas. This is a 30% chance that you will see a tornado within 25 miles of a point if you live in one of these zones. And to add on to that, we've got a hatched risk, which means there's a 30% chance that those tornadoes will be strong, EF2 to EF5 range. So it's serious outlook. And you can see quite a lot of population in these zones as well. Multiple big cities, especially Memphis, Tennessee, in that high-risk zone. Potentially really serious stuff. If I just can show you something quickly, search up violent, you can see the SPC mentions the word violent tornadoes in the discussion 4 times, which is almost unheard of. This is incredibly rare, but you can see a few intense supercells are going to develop strong and potentially violent tornadoes across Arkansas, Tennessee, and Mississippi, and then also a line of semi-discrete supercells with several potentially violent tornadoes are likely in the northern area as well. Not only that, we're going to see a big risk for very strong winds, likely a school line with tornadoes and very strong wind gusts across Indiana, Illinois, and Iowa during the afternoon, and a big risk for hail as well, potentially up to baseball-sized hail. We already have a PDS tornado watch, incredibly rare, yet we've got one today, with a 90% probability of 1 or more strong tornadoes, and almost 100% chance of 2 or more tornadoes in this zone, which is, you can see those areas there, Missouri, Illinois, and Iowa, and you can see a few intense tornadoes are likely. 3-inch hail likely, and very strong winds up to 70 miles an hour. This is a very high-end event, and it's really unheard of, basically, what we're seeing. We'll start off looking at the synoptic kind of setup for today. This is the water vapor imagery, and you can see, let me play this loop, you can see we've got a big low spinning out here across the kind of central areas, and you can see we're getting storms starting to develop. We've got a surface low somewhere up here and a warm front somewhere up here, and the overall pattern is very divergent. There's lots of large scale lift for storms to develop, and that's exactly what we're seeing now. Storms, likely supercells, or not even likely, confirmed supercells, are already starting to develop across parts of Missouri, Iowa, and also down into Arkansas as well, and these are only going to strengthen. If I show you the kind of upper level wind fields, we've got a massive, very strong, negatively tilted trough. That trough becomes negatively tilted, especially during the afternoon and evening hours. Let's get a black pen out there. There's our, let me see if I can move this back. Sorry everyone. You can see, this is a midnight UK time, but there is our upper level low. And here's our jet streak, a really powerful jet streak, winds above 100 knots at 500 millibars. And then we've got divergent winds all the way through the southern US into parts of the northern central US. And this whole area will be favourable for storms because the wind is spreading apart, it's diverging, and then what happens is the air from the surface comes in to kind of replace that, and as you can imagine, the kind of going upwards, so you end up getting storms developing there. If we take a look at the 850 millibar winds to show our low-level jet, you can see a very potent low-level jet developing through kind of parts of the central US, starting kind of from Illinois down into Arkansas there, kind of got that arc of very strong 50, 60, 70 knot winds, which will mean that the low-level shear will be really favourable. If we zoom in a little bit, let's start off by looking at the northern half of our risk zone. We've got high risk there. Let's take a look at our dew points to kind of get an idea. You You can see there's our surface low across parts of eastern Iowa. That's going to be moving eastwards during the day. And you can see we've got our upper 50s and low 60s dew points moving in. There's our warm front, and then we've got our cold front. Let's get that cold front kind of in there. Oh, that pen's really thick, sorry. Let's clear that. And then we've got basically, let's get the black pen. We've basically got really rich, oh, this is too thin, sorry everyone. We've got really rich kind of, oh, now it's too thick. Let's get that down a bit. We've got really rich kind of moisture in this area. And then we've got cool temperatures aloft. We've got instability, and that's kind of going to be our energy for the storms to develop. And let's show you some of the CAPE indices. You can see this is our surface-based CAPE, and you can see spreading through the next few hours, very high-end amounts, 1,000, 2,000, potentially even more localized, maybe 3,000 CAPE during the afternoon across kind of parts of Iowa, Illinois, and Missouri. So the low-level thermodynamics are going to be very, very favorable, and I'm not sure if this shows us, no, but basically the kind of instability in this region is going to be really helpful for storms to develop and become intense. And in terms of shear, we've got a lot of shear as well. This is the storm relative helicity. This is kind of a product which shows the kind of low-level shear, particularly good for kind of deciphering whether the supercells are going to be tornadic or non-tornadic. And you can see by kind of midnight in UK time, which I think is around 4 to 5 p.m. Local time here, you can see we've got those values of, let's move through, you can see we've got those values of 2 to 4 or 500 in kind of an arc like that. So those values are going to be really favourable for severe storms. And if I show you the significant tornado parameter, usually it's best to avoid those composite indices. But if I take a sounding near the triple point, you can see potentially really, oh, that's a contaminated sounding, so not super great. Let's take one from here, an area average sounding from this region. You can see we've got really strong instability, very strong low-level relapse rates, and decent moisture as well. Should be favourable for quite a buoyant rear flank downdraft, which often helps in the tornado genesis process. But you can see we've got a very favourable shear profile as well, kind of your cold core type setup. And these setups are often really efficient at producing tornadoes. I mean, even last year, I think March 5th or 6th, 2022, we saw an EF4 tornado from a cold core type setup. And it's possible we see that scenario repeated, almost copied and pasted across Iowa and Illinois today, potentially multiple strong to violent tornadoes. If we take a look at the forecasted reflectivity from this model, you can see supercells likely semi-discrete and discrete supercells in a band through parts of Iowa and Illinois, and it's really rare you get this kind of look. Individual discrete supercells, it's a really rare and potent look, and that's going to be evolving into kind of parts of northwestern Illinois, don't know why I said eastern, and eastern Iowa there, in a very favourable environment to produce long track, strong, violent tornadoes. So if you're in this zone, please stay aware to your weather warnings, that kind of thing. If I show you the HRR model, the 4 o'clock run is just coming out, you can see similar picture there, a band of semi-discrete supercells likely to evolve into kind of eastern Iowa, western Illinois, and into Missouri by kind of 4, 5 o'clock local time, and that's just a super favourable environment really. Let's take a sounding from there, and my gosh, that's a very favourable environment. Lots of instability, lots of low-level shear. Potentially this shear even increases as time goes on. That band of supercells moving into central Illinois. And that's, oh, actually, I'm looking at the wrong model there. Let's take a look at the latest model run, and you can see similar thing. I mean, multiple discrete, semi-discrete supercells with super long tract helicity swaths. Potentially even some renegade supercells ahead of that line, in a very, very favourable environment. Looking a bit elevated there. Let's take an area average sounding to parts of central Illinois, and I mean that's a very favourable environment. Look at those instability profiles, 2,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE, and more than 300 meters squared per second squared of 0 to 1 kilometer helicity, which is very favourable for tornadoes, as you can see there. So that's a northern risk, really significant. Just take a look on the HRR. You can see, let's just take an area average sounding for this zone across central Illinois, and I mean very, very favourable environment there. You can see it's very strong low-level thermodynamics and a very well kind of curved hodograph, like I just said, the cold core type setup. And then let's move into that more southern zone now, take a look at what we're seeing there. And let's start off by looking at the dew points. The dew points are going to be a bit higher across the south, as you can see, 60 to 70 Fahrenheit dew points, a bit higher. And then also notice something pretty concerning. The HRR is showing a couple, or HRRR, sorry, showing a couple of prefrontal confluence bands there. That is a pretty big red flag. You can see a couple of confluence zones in there. Could be a potentially initiation, kind of a mechanism of initiation for discrete supercells in this very high-end environment through this zone as well. That's where we've got a second high risk. And this pen is annoying me because it's too big. And you can see, let's take a look at the Cape, not most unstable, surface-based Cape. You can see through the afternoon, I mean, that Cape is an uptrend. This is a very high-end scenario. A massive tornado outbreak seems likely to me. But you can see 1,000 to 2,000 kilograms, joules per kilogram of Cape widely in this zone during the evening. And I mean, to be honest, there's 2,000 joules per kilogram of Cape extending all the way down from Iowa across the warm sector into Arkansas. Kind of reminds me of April 3rd, 1974. Not saying that that's necessarily what's going to happen, but kind of the nature of the widespread outlook, the widespread nature of the event. And let's take a look at the shear values as well. And similar, really high-end shear values there. This is the 0 to 1 kilometer storm relativity. And you can see values of above 200 all the way in this zone. And look, 300 to 400 in these kind of red colors here. So especially in this region right here, I'm concerned for some violent tornadoes personally. Just for fun, or it's not really going to be any fun for people today, but let's take a look at the significant tornado parameter and massive, really top of the scale values there. We're not going to cherry pick any soundings, but let's just take an area average for southern Missouri. Massively favorable environment there, strong low level lapse rates, lots of low level shear. Take a look through parts of central Illinois, southern central Illinois. This is really, really favorable, massive amounts of low level shear, strong instability. About as high end as you're going to get, really, to be honest. Just for fun, let's take a look at one of those maximized areas of STP, and a very, very favorable environment, though that is convectively contaminated. And let's just go through the latest reflectivity loop, and this is extremely concerning. This is as high end as you're going to get. A warm sector filled with discrete tornadic supercells. Reminds me, I hate to say it, but it does remind me of April 3rd, 1974. In the kind of the similarities of how it looks. And I mean, any of these supercells all the way from kind of southern Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, Kentucky, Illinois could produce strong to violent tornadoes. And I'm especially concerned about this region in there, kind of southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, western Kentucky, Tennessee and Arkansas. I think that's the best chance for any isolated but still discrete supercell thunderstorm could see a couple of violent tornadoes there. Let's take an area average sounding. I mean, really, really favorable environment. A massively sheared profile. Let's take a look at the experimental model here. This came out today, and you can see similar thing. Discrete storms widely in the warm sector, potentially turning a bit more linear. But I'm not too concerned in terms of tampering the tornado threat, because if you take a look at these kind of the predicted storm motions, if you kind of orientate that to the boundary, even if you've got kind of a boundary like this, the supercell storms can be riding like that kind of along it. So they're going to be staying relatively discrete, and they'll be able to ingest a lot of warm, buoyant inflow. So I still think the tornado potential is really, really high. And then, of course, that's our discrete mode to the north. So really high-end threat today. And then let's take a look at the mesoanalysis quickly. And you can see got two clusters of supercells developing. There's our two high-risk zones. And basically you can see the forecast. Discrete supercellular thunderstorms with a high-end environment, likely to be really high-end environment, really. Significant tornado parameter of 4 to 5. That is incredibly concerning. Into northwest Mississippi and Arkansas, tornado parameter of 5, lining up with discrete supercells is really a rare thing. So kind of, I'm going to end it up now, but a massively dangerous tornado outbreak is likely today. Potentially the most significant outbreak in over a decade. if things go to plan. It's not going to be great if things go to plan though, really. So let's hope for the best. My thoughts are going to be with those people in the affected regions, but otherwise a high-end significant tornado outbreak with violent tornadoes looks pretty likely for many in the central US. Thank you so much for watching and stay safe everyone. Bye.